Out front tonight, we begin with the longest goodbye. Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un couldn't bear to part this evening, embracing on the tarmac, prolonging their goodbyes, both standing there across from each other, waving goodbye. Once Putin got inside his plane, he continued to stare at Kim almost longingly, then waving, smiling ear to ear. Kim and his cheering squad waving enthusiastically back as hard as they could. It was almost childlike. Putin departing after signing what was the most significant defense agreement for Russia since the Cold War. Nobody knows exactly all the details. We do know that it includes ammunition, missiles for Putin's war in Ukraine, for Kim, access to crucial Russian nuclear weapon technology. And much as Putin may think, or certainly used to think, that the leader of North Korea is beneath him, he needed this meeting, and he went all in for it. And Kim treated Putin like a czar. Look at this, massive banners of Kim and Putin everywhere, crowds everywhere. They pose for pictures together with these massive portraits behind them, taking time to drive each other around. You see Putin taking the wheel there. That is a new Russian-built limousine that Putin is driving. They're not being driven by a chauffeur, driving themselves. All the while, thousands of adoring fans looked on everywhere they went. I mean, it was a rock star reception, fit for a czar. Just listen to how Russian state television, which was there on the scene, reported on it.
The balloons were in the air. North Korean children came to greet Putin. Everything was involved. Soviet songs, Russian flags, and of course, blaring cheers of the Korean people in honor of the dearest guest's arrival from the invincible Russia.
The invincible Russia. This is quite a turn, because it was just 7 years ago that Putin was treating Kim like a persona non grata, way beneath him. I mean, listen to Putin then.
We do not recognize North Korea's nuclear status. Pyongyang's nuclear missile program grossly violates the UN Security Council resolution.
Wow, the tables have turned. Here's Putin today.
Pyongyang has the right to take reasonable measures to strengthen its own defense capability, ensure national security, and protect sovereignty.
And Putin's state-run television anchors were almost giddy at the idea that this deal could give North Korea the power to strike the U.S. mainland.
Its ballistic missiles are already reaching Hawaiian Islands, not to mention Japan. The centers on the west coast of the United States could be under attack sometime later.
All of this part of a war lust that is deeply dangerous. The former director of the National Intelligence, James Clapper, tells out front the evolving partnership between Putin and Kim poses a serious threat to the national security of the United States. And Putin's total about-face on Kim in these past 7 years does make sense in the context of his singular focus on taking on the West, a singular obsession shared by Kim. The West, of course, shorthanded to the United States, an obsession that may explain those long goodbyes and longing looks. Will Ripley is out front. He is in Hanoi in Vietnam. That is where Putin has just landed after leaving North Korea. Will, a very different welcome for Putin where you are standing tonight.
Aaron, it may have been a long goodbye in Pyongyang, but it was a cautious and quick hello here in Hanoi. Vietnam trying its best to host President Putin for a relatively toned-down but friendly state visit without alienating the U.S. and allies. Kim Jong-un, on the other hand, welcoming Putin in signature North Korean style.
By
the time Vladimir Putin's plane landed in North Korea, it was 3 a.m. Wednesday, hours behind schedule. Kim Jong-un was at the airport, waiting, greeting the Russian president with handshakes, hugs, smiles. Driving together in one of 2 Russian limousines Putin gave Kim as a gift past Pyongyang skyscrapers, lit up to welcome the Russian leader in a nation plagued by power shortages. They toured Kim's lavish guest house where Putin spent the night. Waking up to the sound of huge crowds lining the streets of Pyongyang, chanting "Welcome Putin" in almost perfect unison. Rolling through Pyongyang, riding past streets packed with people, waving Russian and North Korean flags as far as the eye could see. Most of these people don't know the brutal reality of Putin's war in Ukraine, or the claims Pyongyang denies that huge amounts of North Korean weapons and ammo are flowing into Russia. Cut off from the outside world, North Koreans only know what their government wants them to know, that Putin is Kim's new best friend.
DPRK expresses full support and solidarity with the struggles of the Russian government.
We highly appreciate your consistent and unwavering support.
North Korea and Russia reviving a defense treaty from the Cold War, agreeing to help each other if attacked, the strongest military pact between the two nations in decades. Putin also says Russia doesn't rule out developing military technical cooperation. Raising fears around the world, Putin might help Kim make his missiles more accurate in exchange for a continued steady supply of weapons and ammo for Putin's war on Ukraine.
So we've seen a sea change in which the Russians are now overtly breaking the sanctions and helping the North Koreans to break the sanctions, which of course is a great boon to North Korea.
Veteran North Korea and China journalist Mike Chinoy says Kim has all but abandoned U.S. diplomacy, angry and humiliated after summit talks with former President Donald Trump fell apart 5 years ago in Hanoi, Vietnam.
What we now are seeing is a kind of reconstituting of an anti-American bloc consisting of Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran.
And all of those nations don't ask Kim Jong-un to give up his growing arsenal of nuclear weapons, Aaron. Weapons that North Korea and Russia, by the way,